You know, when we send in energy to other people, and we're the channel for them, when we're doing healing work, you know, a lot of times what happens is, you know, they can be healed instantaneously, but we can be healed instantaneously if we don't remove the things that are within us that cause that illness or that disease or whatever in us in the first place. It comes back, and it's for me, it has been a story of that, of learning. I remove something from myself and then have to go back in and rework on it again and remove it, and it's like this toggling back and forth, and the universe is saying, you know, you're leaving something out. You're leaving something out. You know, so over this time I learned to do more analysis. More analysis of going into myself and looking at the things within me and asking universe to give me some guidance about what, you know, why is this not wanting to clear out? And through this process of doing this, I've learned that it's about truly letting go. It's about truly letting that behind and just, it's not me. This is not me. This is who I am. So going into, back then my meditational process was, I have this, universe, take this, you know.
Right.
Change me, I want to be healed, you know, and I would do that in meditation over and over and over. But I wasn't addressing the fact that I didn't want this anymore. It's not me. It's like, I'm trying to remove this. I'm trying to remove this. I'm trying to remove this.
So you're asking for something, but yet you're not allowing your own identity to be in congruency with that, to be incoherent with that, and so it's not happening.
Right,
or
it's not happening.
It is in glimpses.
It is in glimpses. You know, it would get better or healed and then come back. Because I hadn't really addressed some other cause or root cause associated with it, or I wasn't truly letting it go. So the universe was sending me, I had many different illnesses, and all of these things, I was learning that process of really saying, this is not me. This is how I am. Because the universe is monitoring your being. You know,
you catch that?
It's monitoring who you are.
Yeah, not my thoughts.
Not your thoughts.
Right. It's the actual beingness.
Right. So what I learned to do is, if I'm being this way, and this is what I am right now, I'm not that anymore, I'm this. And then I start being that. And that is, it takes practice within itself. And focus and commitment to being that, even though I may be in pain. I mean, I've had things that I'm in pain with, and I'm suffering.
Right.
But even through that, me standing up and saying, I'm done with this. I'm not this anymore, I'm this. And I would go into meditation with that attitude. And I would tell the universe, you know, take this away from me and you know, give me my original divine perfection in a way that's perfect for me. And that's it.
Can you state that one more time?
Okay, I would go into the universe and address what's the state of being I'm in right now. And I would ask the universe to take this state of being and transmute it into my original divine perfection in a way that is perfect for me. So, yeah, that was when I learned that was an epiphany, and my guides were telling me all along that you be simple. Stop all of this. See, I'm a, you know, classically trained engineer. So, you know, initially, when I first started into spirituality, I mean, I was taking all the components, drawing block diagrams,
Right.
all of this complicated stuff,
Getting your grid paper
Yeah, I had my
out.
grid
Yep.
paper out, and I was charting all this stuff. Literally, I was charting all this and going through. And over the years, my guys, I know they were just going, will he ever learn? But it's simple. It's simple. The universe is simple.
Right.
It reads your state of being. What is your state of being? Be what you want to be. And the complexity of that is the things that we've had in our life that has put us where we're at in the moment, like, our childhood and all the things that we went through and our belief systems, are the things that keep us from having that faith and that knowing that when I say I'm not this, I'm this. I had to become pure in my life. That's the other thing my guides talked about, is purity. Said you must become like the child. And I think everybody's read that. If you read it biblically, Jesus is saying you must become like a child. All he's talking about is the purity of the child.
Right.
Because the purity is
Wait, you're saying we're not supposed to become incredibly immature and self-focused?
Yeah, well, we can do that too. You can do whatever you want to do. So I had, we have to go into ourselves.
Yes.
And look at the things that we have going on inside of ourselves. And purity is like, the way I equate it, it's like I'm a pipe. I am this channel. I'm this channel that's channeling source, life force,
Yes.
nurturing, loving, unconditional love, and all these other things. Or I can shut it off with these blocks and restrictions and things and just be these lower energies and take energy from everyone else. If you're not taking source energy, you're taking it from someone else.
So there is always a level of consumption of energy, but source energy would be the unlimited, divine, pure, unconditional,
Yes.
limitless. So it's
Absolutely.
additive, it's constructive.
It's nurturing. It's unconditional loving. It's nurturing. It builds. It wants to build balance and harmony, and it wants to change.
Speak to that.
In our system, in the reality that we live in, Source is wanting this change to have choice and experience beyond all of the things that it's already experienced. It wants to experience you in many different ways. In order to do that, it requires a change, right? So that's really a built-in function of what we are, to drive force the expansion and the growth of all things, the growth of your being, of who you are and who you are becoming. The problem we have, we earthlings have, is we sit around in our little box and we stagnate. And we build up all of these, like I was saying, we build up all of these lower energies within us that clog the pipe.
Right.
So if the pipe is clogged, I'm going to go out and I'm going to get my energy from you.
Right.
And narcissists are perfect examples of this. They've shut themselves off from source energy, and they're working everyone around them to give them energy. That's a true service to self mode. So the more you're shut off from source, the more your service to self. The more your service to self, the more you have to get vital life force from somewhere.
Right.
So you're getting it from the people around you and the environment that's around you as much as you can.
The term energy vampire is one that I've
Yeah.
heard over and over that is such a clear representation.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, it's a blood sucker. Okay.
Yeah. So this purity that I'm speaking about is addressing this clog in our pipe,
Right.
these things in our pipe, and letting them go and becoming something new. It's the change. It's changing from sitting in that box to stepping out of that box and becoming something else, which is connected to the source instead of taking it from everyone else.
As you were describing all of this, what came up for me really strong was source, God, the all, the universe, whatever label, a person depicts, but the life force energy that is undeniable because, hey,
Right.
I'm here. This thing, like, there's alive and there's not alive, right? At least on the physical plane. And it's so amazing to me how source is divine, perpetual change. By definition, source is change. As we were talking earlier about integration of new energy, right? When you said your heart, you could feel it like burning, but there was this energetic wall here, this barrier. Well, there was a process of you dissolving this physical boundary to allow your heart energy to expand. And so the sphere grew, and then it shrinks. And this is why, the term one step forward, two steps back, it's like, why has that been deemed a negative? What if one step forward of expansion is I feel divine, which means I have faith, I have hope, I have trust, I'm taking actions in new ways, I'm driving a car that has headlights that only see a certain distance, but yet I trust that there's still a road and that I can respond to whatever it is that's coming my way to navigate safely for myself, whoever's with me, and everyone else that's in the process. Like no one drives a car and says, well, I can't see my way to New York from Dallas, so might as well not go.
What you're saying there has made me think about, there's actually, this is a cyclic system we live in. Okay, it's built on cycles. So we have a birth. We come into the world, and then we have an experimentation phase where we're going out into the world and we're experimenting with all these different things in the world. And then we have an integration phase. We integrate. Then we have a transition phase, and a transformation. And it goes around. So if you look at it in that context, that's what source does, and that's why we seem like we're taking two steps forward and one step back, because we're making that step forward, but then there's an integration to take that energy and that information that we just learned and integrate it into leveling up, actually. So you have a step where you're doing this process of two step forward, one step back, two step forward, one step back, and then all of a sudden there's a transition.
It's
or
so
an initiation into a higher level.
It's so biologically wired because we have 16 hours of traditional wake time and we have 8 hours of sleep. 2 steps forward, 1 step back, integrate.
It's the whole, it's built into the system. So we need to, for me, it's a realization. This is the way this process works. So we don't, we can become really. A lot of people go into despair over that. Over that process.
I have many times. My goodness, just for not acknowledging the many steps forward, but just seeing the step backwards and focusing on that. Beating myself up internally, negative self-talk, feeling depressed, discouraged, so much apathy, to feel so alone, no, I'm the only one that's ever gone through this. The more that I become open emotionally and with my journey, with what it is that I'm learning and co-creating with people at every interaction, the faster that authentic conversation shows up, not just the surface level, how's the weather, external, but like, no,
real,
what's your...
real engagement where you're really connected
Yes.
to a person.
Yes. The more that's been showing up, and the faster, it's like relationships are happening on like a quantum level.
Yeah.
Right? Because quantum entanglement, for example, there's not actually a time delay in the two different particles in two completely different spaces, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah.
Right? And so this is energetic, instantaneous, separate from physical reality and the delay of time. Wow.
So within this dimension, like what you're saying is that's why we draw the people we draw to us. That's why we draw the experiences and the state of the things around us, because we're sending out. Our state of being draws that quantum entanglement to everything that's coming to us and that's manifested and works around us. So that's why when you're in your flow, if you and I are in our flow and we're in our joy and everything, it's magic, because it just happens, and it's pleasure, it's joy, it's all these things when you're in your flow,
right?
When you're in who you're supposed to be being, So this purity is really, the mechanism. Having that purity in your life is the mechanism of drawing more of this knowledge and this information and energy into you, and being able to give more of it to other people.
When you speak about purity, what are like the first steps for you? Like physically, what did you shift? Mentally, what did you shift? Relationally, how did things shift?
That's a great question, because there really is lots of phases to this. I had to go in and create purity within my body before I did anything else. My body was so chemically imbalanced and dysfunctional, just because of the things that I'd been doing and things I'd put in it, the stress and all that. So the first thing in the process I went into was bringing the body back to harmony by actual physical things. I mean, I was working out and eating properly and doing the right things for my body. And by the way, that's an act of love. So
absolutely.
For me, that was the first act of love that I showed myself in a long time.
What is a small act of love that you are currently showing yourself, that you can give yourself credit for right now? What can you embody? What's one thing that you would say?
Just like I'm talking about, do something for yourself that is good for you. And if we look at our life and what we have in our life, what's that one thing you can change in your life right now, or you can give your body that would benefit it? There's,
how about water?
Like water. Yeah. What's that one thing that we can give ourselves? So for me, it was like, I had so many things going on with me that it was a wholesale change. I mean, changed my diet, changed my exercise habits, my state of mind, to focus on doing something for my body. And
wait, but John, doesn't that make you a selfish person?
No. In order to love other people and to actually really serve other people,
right,
you have to love yourself completely. Amen. You have to, for love to flow through you, you have to love yourself. You have to take care of yourself. You have to, it's very difficult to give any love out if you don't have any in yourself.
Yes.
If you're, most of it's hard to get your frequency up. It's hard to there's just so many things that it holds you back in. So, and look at our society right now. If you look across society, health and body well-being is probably one of the number one issues in people, holding them back from moving up in frequency and moving up in spiritual attainment. Because a lot of people will look at a lot of things, but they want to go into meditation and do all these other things, but they don't do anything with the body. They keep eating the things they've been eating. They keep doing things that are harmful to the body.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really the first thing you have to address is the chemistry, and clean your food up, do something for your body.
How does one know what cleaning their food up looks like?
Cleaning the food for me was a process of moving into a healthier diet, removing what are they? Just the products out of the store that are manufactured with chemicals.
Just moving more towards whole foods,
trying to
things that feel more natural.
Originally, it was more natural. It was more whole foods. It was more vegetables. But I was still eating a lot of meat and things at that time. But I did clean up considerably. No more processed food. My wife and I started eating very, more whole food, like you're talking about. We were more cautious with what we were eating. And the exercise on a regular basis.
Right.
And I dropped from 215 to 145.
Whoa. Well done, sir.
Yeah, in a matter.
Was 145 a healthy weight for you, or was that too thin?
It was a beginning weight. It was what my body needed to completely throw all the toxins out.
Wow.
See, I went down below my body weight to remove I removed all the toxins out of my body.
Right. Because you're probably about 160 or 170 for a healthy body weight, right?
165 for me now, or 160 to 165 is normal for me now. When I was training, I was at 185.
And that was due to muscle?
Yeah, constant 185. Oh, I got up to 200 at one point, but I was solid muscle.
Dang, look out.
And that's a whole nother story.
This guy's been a black belt for 25 years.
Yeah, a long time. But anyway, that process, it's very true. I had to work on the body, then I had to work on the mind. And once I worked on my mind and my body, that mind-body connection, I got that right, then spirit was beginning to speak to me.
Beautiful.
Spirit is always trying to talk to you. No matter what condition you're in, spirit's always working on you. What happens is if we get in such a horrid condition that spirit can't communicate to you with the way it really wants to,
right?
What happens to you in your life? How does spirit get your attention?
Some sort of chaos, some sort of destruction of old patterns, relationships, behaviors. It's usually, in my experience, it's been like a shakening.
Right. It's a shakening. So the only way that sometimes spirit works with people, because you're not in a mode, you've let yourself get into a situation where you can't hear. You're not getting the intuition, you're not getting the guidance. So spirit shakes you,
right,
to get that change and that movement to head you in the right direction.
Which is actually kind of getting, it's like, okay, so it's all this stagnation, and really what we're wanting is an expanding frequency. Right? Cleaning out the pipe. And so the shaking is actually, it's almost like a forcing function to just get the body moving.
Certainly. And, so we should pay attention to that. But what happens is we don't at times. And then as a last resort, spirit gives you an illness.
Yes, a physically dense
You get
something.
a physically dense thing that you have to work through that stops you, that slows you down, stops you, makes you really look into yourself and look at what you're doing.
Yeah.
In reality, spirit doesn't really want to have to do that. Spirit wants to just be able to communicate with you.
Mm-hmm.
And if you clean yourself up, you get into that situation where you can make that connection and that intuition, and we're still here to experience things. So we still experience things, but it's different. They don't have, that harshness is not used. That wake up, like that is not used. You're steered to what you need to learn, and they want to do it in a way with alignment with your wishes before you came into the lifetime, but it's going to be in a way that is not, it's what you were here to do. A lot of this shaking and this illness, some of these illnesses weren't written into your chart. They're an attempt to get your attention for you to get on your chart.
I can imagine that there's a lot of resistance in many individuals as they hear that, right?
Oh, yeah.
I know there is.
Oh, yeah.
For me, there's a good amount of resistance, and I feel like I'm quite open to these different concepts. Like, no, I'm a sovereign individual. I have free will. What are you talking about? Some sort of blueprint?
Yeah, let's talk about that. I mean, this is very esoteric, what I'm talking about. I understand that.
Mm-hmm.
When you come in, there is a path that you're supposed to walk.
Mm-hmm.
Your guides, God, your higher self, whatever you want to call this concept, you have an agreement with this energy. This agreement was made in free will.
Mm-hmm.
Before you went through the veil into this. So this directing, guiding, loving force, which is actually fully unconditional, is trying to help you follow the path that you came into this world to do.
Mm.
And when we don't follow that path, we run into these things where spirit is
Jarring
us.
Yes, the wake-up calls,
Yeah.
the shakenings of life.